Hey everyone, and welcome to A Bigger Bite, where we take a deeper dive into some of the biggest films of the year. I am your host slash moderator, Matt Thomas, and I am joined by none other than Bitesize's own Amarú Moses and Shak Lambert. How are you guys doing tonight?
What up, Matt? I'm doing really well. Ready to really dig into this epic film we got going on today.
I'm good. I'm chilling, and if my internet ain't gonna act up again like it has for like the last 15 minutes, hopefully things go smooth. But otherwise, I'm doing good.
That's good. That's good. So this is a film that's going to be really interesting because somebody on this panel is not the biggest fan of it, and then we got a couple people who are, and this is none other than the film Nickel Boys, an exploration into going of the Deep South, a reformatory school from the black perspective, where, let's be honest, they were treated like third-class citizens, lower than second-class citizens. It was essentially almost like a slave camp. The white boys were able to play baseball and all these other sports for a reformatory school, and the black kids got to do, essentially, for lack of a better term, house nigga shit.
Slave labor. They did slave labor. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And boxed for the entertainment of the white
illegally.
folks.
It was Mandingo fights, as they'd say in Django.
100%. And it's another one of those movies where you hear all of that and you think, I don't want to get into another black trauma film going into our history and the bad parts of the history. And I actually I had it goes into another conversation before going into the movie that I've had that sentiment for a while. Actually, I don't want to get into too much of continuing to just see the same kind of hurtful, traumatic stories. But then somebody had mentioned something that should be real obvious, but I just don't think about it. We never say that about things like The Brutalists. We don't say that about things like The Pianist or The Holocaust or any of those kind of films. We keep seeing them, and it's like, you know what? You're right. And our history has to be continuously told. And if they're told in different ways to make you continue to understand but feel hope, I get it. And that is one reason why I extremely love Nickel Boys, is because it might have not worked for some, but Ramel Ross and that point of view from front to back, I think absolutely positively worked.
Man, listen, this is gonna be the gang up on Matt hour, because look, this shit. Watching this, like you're saying, I have the whole mentality of I don't want to see another black. Essentially after 12 Years a Slave, I was like, I'm slave movied out. This is it. This is the most punishing version of this. And going into this, the whole first person perspective, in my mind, I was like, this could be a gimmick, because I think of Hardcore Henry and how that used it in a way that was it was fun, but it was also very exhausting. But the way Ramel Ross does it here feels so genuinely refreshing, and it's the most I've ever felt in someone's life, for real. Because thankfully it's not all trauma. We get, as with the movie about Elwood, mostly through Elwood's perspective, we learned about his life all before that, and all is just a regular ass life, and all moments of just him and his grandmother just sharing a hug feels so unlike something I've seen in a movie in a while, where I genuinely felt that warm hug. You can watch two people hug and be like, yeah, that's a beautiful moment, but when you're in it, it feels so different.
Yeah, I shout out to Jomo Frey. The cinematography is mind-blowing in this film. And not only, again, don't use that first person point of view as a gimmick. You use that first person point of view not only to see the crap that's going on, but also I live in the South now. The South is low-key beautiful in its tragedy that goes around it. And just looking at the juxtaposition of the white kids in the reform school and the black kids, but then you take a step back and you just see green and land and sunset, and utilizing that to kind of to hone in on what you're experiencing. just makes a huge difference. And I remember the very first time in the movie where I really appreciated the first person point of view is the fact that they're not just giving it from Elwood's perspective. That we're also getting it from what's my man's name? Not Elwood, the other one. Turner. And by the way, Ethan Harris and Brandon Wilson killed both of the roles. But the first time we get to run back a scene from Turner's perspective that we've already seen from Elwood's perspective, it's like it's like getting a 3D picture and just starting to fill in pieces one at a time to get the whole thing, the way to unravel that story, to get in both of their lives and both of those characters. It was the first time I was like, I really like the point of view, but then seeing both of them, I'm like, I really, really like how you're breaking that down, or like unraveling that, kind of like a photo that's blurred in, and then you're just slowly unblurring pieces of the whole picture.
Whew, okay.
Hater alert.
Listen, unlike you guys, I felt like that was gimmicky as shit. It took me out of the movie at certain points multiple times. It's one of those things where I felt like, depending on whose story, there was times where it was definitely compelling, like when Turner is meeting Elwood's grandmother. That was compelling moment, good use of it there. But I was honestly, I was annoyed, I was bored. It didn't allow me to fully encapsulate and enjoy the film, because as soon as I was starting to rock with it, I'm getting pulled to someone else's point of view, and that became an issue for me constantly. And it wasn't until we get to a certain point in the film where I'm like, okay, I get why they did it, but I still don't rock with it. I still don't believe in it. I believe it was a big gimmick. And ultimately, when you get to that point where I know we'll talk about it later more in depth, and I'm just walking around it for now. But when you get to that point, that's the only time it really feels justified. And in that point, it's a twist. But if you pay attention to what's presented on screen and some of the flash forwards, you can figure out the twist in a matter of moments. And that's why I was like, listen, beautiful cinematography. Like, Rue, your statements on it being in the South, and the Deep South, mind you, like you're not in the Deep South. This is in the Deep South, and it's like, yes, there's a ton of beauty. The juxtaposition, great, but at the same time, I couldn't get behind it. Like,
here's my question, and maybe you didn't like the films, and maybe then that'll kind of explain it to me. I have two films to see if you've seen it and ask whether or not you've liked it. We Live in Time and Strange Darling. How did you feel about those two films?
Didn't see either of them.
Great. Anyway, any film, give me a film that you might have liked that is a disjointed timeline, that doesn't go chronologically.
Easy. Dunkirk.
So you like that film?
Yes.
You like getting pulled out and put into different people's stories, and eventually they kind of coalesce into one thing, and you get the full picture. So why the reason I don't understand why people saying it's a gimmick is because when you have that kind of disjointed timeline and you're getting pictures,
it's not a disjointed timeline to me in this, because it's still going at the same pace. I don't care about the flash forwards and flashing back. That didn't bug me.
That's the thing. That's the thing. If we didn't get the flash forwards, I would kind of see what you mean. But getting the flash forwards, we start to see different pieces of different people's parts, and it's not about it's not about a timeline. It's about a disjoint in this period in terms of not linearly, but holistically in that time. So that we only have Elwood's point of view, and being put only in Elwood's point of view makes us connect to him and what he's feeling and what he's thinking and what he's seeing. But we get Turner, and we see Turner, and we hear Turner. But then instead of, I get that same thing where I love the puzzle getting put together. They're not doing it linearly. Again, they're doing it holistically in the present. So the same way you're like, I love getting the questions and the things clicked in for me as I've gone through it once and then going through it again. going back and forth and seeing the same scenes over and over from different point of views, while
We
you're
didn't see 'em
literally
over and over. We saw it was like it happened twice where it was the same scene. Otherwise, it was just, hey, we're switching. We're gonna pick up from the end of this part of the story and then go along with the others. So
the fact that they did it at the beginning allows you to kind of feel feel
yes,
kind of
you can feel
both of them at the same time,
You can
understand
feel.
both of them at the same time, and then when you move forward from one to the next, not only again do you feel you get different pieces of the puzzle connecting in, but then you're like, all right, where am I at with him now? And now not only am I intrigued with one person, but I'm intrigued with multiple people. I don't know. It just it made me feel the world lived in for me.
It doesn't feel as disjointed. Like again,
I said that's personally. Granted,
yeah.
I'm not the only person
I totally get.
I
Get what you're saying, but yeah, it just never felt disjointed to me. It was always like, okay, I understand this person because both their attitudes are very different in general. So like, by the way, even just the way the camera moves, I'm still like, okay, I get that this one is more like this is Turner's perspective, or this one's Elwood's. Like the way they move and the way they react. The first person thing, because it does such a good job like telling which person it is without actually seeing which person it is again, I'm just still impressed by that mainly.
And that's totally fair. I'm not here to just like shit on it. I'm just I'm gonna be the voice of multiple people because I'll be honest, y'all two are the only people I know who have seen the film who absolutely love it. Excuse me,
which is crazy to me.
My father, another black man, saw it. Feels the same way as I did. Just it kept pulling us out. When it comes to black here, of all the black men, there's me and my father and you two. Those are the only 4 black people I know who have seen it, and 2 of us feel the same way, and y'all 2 feel the same way.
It's hilarious because it's the exact opposite for me, where you and now your dad are the only 2 people, period, that I know, black, white, Hispanic, that I talk to that don't like this film outside of the random pundits like I would see here and there that I don't know. Everybody else I know.
It's not that we don't like it. Here. It's not that I didn't like it. I told you out of 5, I gave it 3.5. That's a very solid score. I just didn't like the way it was told. And for a general audience member, you can't lie. That gimmick could totally fail and pull him out of the film. And I'm someone who's a critic and does this shit for a living, essentially, or a side living, whatever you want to call it. So, like, if it's pulling me out, what's it going to do to someone who doesn't normally go into films like this?
But here's why it worked for me, and we're going to get into the spoiler now. We find out. So we have those flash forwards, right? Yes. And we have a flash forward, and it's Elwood being a flash forwarding into Elwood. Now, I heard Daveed Diggs' voice, and I immediately knew it was Daveed Diggs.
Oh, same. I was immediately like, oh no, I know exactly what they're gonna do.
Something clicked in my head.
Same. And then you see the skin. Like, you see the skin color too. The skin color too is just like Elwood got a little bit lighter.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's a really weird choice for Elwood, but I'm a rock with it. And it kept going. It was like, you know what? As it kept going, I'm pretty sure this is not Elwood. And the twist says,
I was like 100% like this is Turner.
That is the difference. Exactly. The moment it happened,
like this is Turner, but I want to see what happened.
Yes, that is, and that was part of the issue because I figured it out with that. The flash forwards. I honestly think if we had not gotten those flash forwards until much later in the film, I might have honestly rocked with it more, because I'm getting those flash forwards and I'm able to figure it out as like that. I'm just like, well, sure, I guess I got to go for this journey, but it's almost a 2.5 hour journey. Like, I don't want to sit through all of it.
My thing with that though is it, like, to me, a twist is not something like a bad twist is something that like is something you completely unravel. The movie unravels or whatever if you take it out. Hello. Oh, God.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so for me, like the twist, yes, it's obvious, but it's also not something that, like, if I were to go back and watch it, it's not going to take anything away from it for me. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it doesn't really like. Sure, it's an obvious twist, but it's not a bad twist. If that makes
And
sense.
here's
No,
my thing.
my only
Here's-
issue is that it was obvious. That if it wasn't obvious, then so be it. But because it was so blatant and obvious, I was just like, oh shit, I figured this out. I like and that might be
the thing.
the
That's the
it's
way
the
I
movie
think.
doesn't
That's the
here.
reason.
Hold on. It could be my
That's the
ADHD.
reason
It could be my
that's the-
ADHD. Like I like
Maybe,
when I
maybe.
Or
when I figure
let me
something out,
finish.
I can pull out and it's just like, oh, I figured it out. And I'm like, and there's still like an hour and 20 minutes left in this. Oh shit. Okay.
I think
Here's
the thing
my
is
thing.
because the movie doesn't hinge on it. It's not building.
I disagree.
So both of y'all are saying, like, I just want to put you two together. Here's the reason I disagree with you a lot, Matt, is because you think it's something that needs to be figured out. It is not a twist that needs to be figured out.
I didn't
It's
say
a
it needed
twist-
to be. I'm just saying
You
I
just,
did
but
figure it
you
out.
said it was obvious. It's not something that's meant to not be obvious. It's not something to be like, oh my God, mind blow. No, it's the thing that it's the linchpin of the film to me, because you know what this film is about. It's not about the trauma that's happened. It's not about the fact that it's first person point of view. But I think it helps what I believe. It's about the two guys growing up, having different perspectives, coming together and basically almost becoming one kind of person because of their relationship. And the fact that, wait a second, Daveed Diggs is light skinned, this dude is dark skinned. Hold up. And they're giving it to us piece by piece by letting us live with Elwood, then live with Turner, and go back and forth to mingle them together. And then one by one, you're going back and forth between the two of them to get to know them as a unit, to experience this as a unit from two different people. And knowing that Turner took over Elwood's name pretty damn early on, you're now like, okay, how did Elwood probably die? How did Turner go from where he was to where Elwood is? And how important it is to be together with these two guys that they essentially became one person. And that's why the point of view works so damn well for me, because again, it's about getting to know these characters in these situations and how their relationship is what pulled them through what they were going through. One didn't survive. The other one picked up with everything he learned from him and moved forward with his life. And being able to live through that perspective, both of their perspectives, literally in their perspective, and have things missing from Elwood. Okay, how does Elwood get closer to Turner? Then you go away from Turner. How does Turner get closer to Elwood, as we're trying to figure out, because they're experiencing the same thing in different ways. So being disconnected is now saying, how is Turner getting closer and closer and closer? And that one scene that is the poster, when you look up and they're mirrored of each other back to back, and they're both looking up. They're two different,
both reverse.
Side by side, but in reverse, but looking in the same direction. And in the mirror, you see both of them. They're two different people with two different perspectives going through the same thing. But when they look at the mirror, they look at each other and they are together. In like the perspective of reality and the perspective of what they're looking at is completely flipped, meaning one guy is the other guy is the other, and we're looking at them back and forth. And that linchpin is those flash forwards, knowing, wait a second, these guys are one. And we're experiencing them one at a time to be able to feel like, how did they get so damn close that you could take Turner and have Turner become Elwood, and it makes sense. He's still him, but he carries his brother with him. And that is, to me, why I love the choice of the film. I don't think it's a gimmick. I think the writing is so brilliant, because putting it together that way makes the film and makes their relationship just one cohesive unit that I thought was beautiful.
Listen, here's the thing. If you didn't pay attention, I harped on the runtime a little bit. This movie's 220.
It's long.
It is.
It's long.
And here, this is another reason why I did not care for the first person, because if you took that out of first person, you easily shave minimum 20 minutes off that bitch. You really do. And the long time with the first person, I can understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it. Like I understand with it. I accept it. I don't agree with it. but it's one of those things where after a certain point, like you just want to move on, and that's something I wish I didn't want to do with the movie because I was fairly excited going into it, and I found myself getting annoyed by the gimmick of first person, and just bored because of it. Like I will say, when the twist happens and Elwood is shot while they're trying to escape, I was like, oh shit, because the moment he gets shot is just like you see Elwood or you see
Turner.
Elwood's running
Turner.
you see Elwood running towards Turner from Elwood's point of view,
Mm.
and then you hear the gunshot and it immediately switches to Turner's point of view, and it's like, oh, okay, now that worked. That's powerful. That I get why you did it. I don't like that you did it, but I understood it more in that moment, and that is one of the only moments where I felt compelled by that. And I wanted to feel more compelled. And my issue with the film isn't that it's not just that I feel like it didn't feel necessary. And it by doing it, you bog down the film in other areas. So I love I love experimental stuff. I get why they did it.
What areas get bogged down because of this?
A longer runtime.
We passed that.
I know. I'm tying it all together, Rue. It's called tying it all together.
Okay.
It's called tying it all together. God damn.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
So,
listen, we might not like the meal, but let him cook.
Right. Like, just so when you do all that, you get the longer runtime. You get just the zoning out. You get how this could end up being a point where it's just like, all right, cool. But I didn't need that. Like, I would have preferred just a normal shot film. It's brilliant in theory. I am not denying that. But damn, this is a solid film. But I think it could have been great. I didn't feel it was great. I get you two did, and that's totally fine. But I just wasn't there.
Mm.
Shaq, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Mm.
Is there a point where either you forgot we were in first person point of view and just lived with it, or was there and if so, were there also points where you're like, oh shit, I forgot I was there, and then zoned out? Because I definitely, at least halfway through the film, I completely forgot about the point of view and lived with it. And there were two moments where I was like, oh shit, we are in first person point of view.
Mm-hmm. I think for me with it is that, like, I always knew that we were in first person, but I wasn't thinking about it in the sense of like, oh, this is a narrative thing that we're doing. I'm just like, okay, we're inside. We're just like, yeah, essentially experiencing this story. And I think the thing that I appreciate that also, which kind of goes with the whole, like, why I appreciate this in first person, is that for certain things, namely like the abuse that some of these kids get, we don't get to see it in a way that feels exploitative. Because, like, again, going back to 12 Years a Slave, very well done, but that shit lingers on screen in the way that's like a horrifying. Just like I know it's to enhance the fact of like how brutal this shit was, but I like the fact of, like, say when Elwood is sent to the place and those kids get like the shit beat out of them, that you instead, how do we react? We lay our heads down. We try and avoid to see the shit because it's going to be even worse if we see it other than hearing it. So there's those moments where I'm like, okay, this really works because it avoids the fetishes. I'd say the fetishes. I think fetishization is the right word, but yeah, it avoids the tropes that we get with these types of movies. And so, yeah, so it didn't. It was never a point where I forgot we were in first person, but there's points where I never thought about it again as a narrative device, and just more as we're still part of the story. We're experiencing his internal emotions without having like a voiceover or anything like that. We're just feeling it and feeling how he feels. Yeah,
and that was it for me. Like, so I guess forgetting is living in it, and not forgetting is a better way to put it. Because like when Anjanou Ellis Taylor comes in and gives Turner the hug, that's when I was put back in. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a thing that's different And then outside of that, I lived it. It was there, like hearing the abuse instead of seeing it. Watching the kid who didn't take the dive in the boxing match and feeling from him from that perspective of being there and be like, oh shit, I'm not like I'm. It makes you feel like you're here, and it makes you feel like you're there. And in terms of the runtime, I don't think the point of view is the part that that pushed the runtime. I do think there are some scenes that linger just a bit narratively. This like sit on a shot or sit in a conversation longer than it needs to be. And like I don't think 20 minutes needed to be cut off. I think maybe about 10 or 15.
I was just saying if you did do something,
because I thought the only way I see the point of view dragging it on is when you do multiple scenes, the same scene, multiple perspectives, and I think that's necessary if you're doing this point of view. I thought that was necessary to get them started, but you could have definitely cut a minute or two or 30 seconds or 45 seconds from a bunch of scenes. And I'll tell you the truth, the hugging scene, which was emotional, but by like the second or third time,
by the third hug, you're like, all right, we gotta go.
I felt it, Grandma. Grandma, I felt it. I don't need it.
I thought it was his aunt, or was it his aunt?
It's his grandma.
Okay. I saw this here. To be frank, I saw this back in November. I haven't touched it again, even though I've had the.
Oh, that okay. You know that's fair because I literally saw it maybe like a week ago.
Yeah, like I November 3rd. I remember what day I saw it. November 3rd.
And then another scene.
I also was trying to watch it before the end of the year.
Yeah, that makes sense. I made sure to catch it before the end of the year just because I heard how good it was. But another scene to me that was really powerful, but again, I think went maybe a minute and half too long, was that flash forward to that one dude that we all know
at the bar,
at the bar that just can't get his crap together. But it's not his fault. It's not his fault. And you want to help him, but you also want to be like, dude, I got my own stuff. And I also think that
just reminded me about another reason why.
That ran about a minute. That ran about 30 seconds to a minute too long, and I think it was those narrative choices to live in those that made it too long, and not the point of view.
So, Rue, that scene being in the movie is why I feel like they were trying to hide the twist, because that was the first time that, as a general audience member, not someone who's ADHD and notices these small little details, but that's the first time they start to push the narrative of, oh, this is an Elwood, and that if. You can't say they push it in that moment.
Of course they do. Because
I know.
He's trying to be Elwood. He's trying not to be caught. At what point is he going to be like, I'm not Elwood? At what point is he going to tell his wife?
I get that.
I'm not Elwood. I'm saying.
Hold on. Let Matt finish.
My point is I feel like that could have been left out or changed to your point where it's shorter. You could have left the reasonable doubt that it's Elwood out of it and still had the real Elwood getting, and it's still just as powerful. Like I didn't feel the need to put that scene in there to create doubt. To like in my eyes, I'm like, okay, this just further confirms what I thought over an hour ago. That's what my head was like.
You know what that scene did for me? That scene further showed me I knew it was Turner. Anybody with any sense knew it was Turner. And at that point, I'm like, how is this dude?
I can say talking to critics coming out of my theater, most of them didn't see that twist coming. That's why I'm just like,
that's crazy to me.
What?
Listen.
Like?
Hey,
what did they look like?
You know exactly what I was about to say. They are not this. They are not this.
Come on,
the complexion behind me, the wall behind me.
Yes.
No disrespect.
You get my point.
I'm gonna put Kevin with the Kev on stage meme right now. It's for black people anyway.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? I think that scene for me, I think in terms of just like narrative structure, that we've seen Elwood and Thing getting along this whole time. Like they're basically fully in sync at that point. And the bar scene, like, I do agree that it goes a little bit too long, but I think the conversation that they're having is a bit necessary because it's to introduce the conflict that the two start having in their ideologies. Because like when the dude's like, "Oh, what happened to your boy there?" and Elwood starts getting a little like defensive, going like, "Don't talk about it." That's as they go back to flash back to them in the school. That's when they start going on in their whole things of like, "Oh, I need to do this." Like they're like, "We need to do something about it." And Turner going like, "No, we don't. We need to keep our head down and just age out or whatever." So I think it's long but necessary in the sense of the narrative structure of the conflict to like bring out the conflict to eventually resolve, and then they both do their own thing, and then leads into the finale.
For sure. And again, I think that's the big key difference between at least me and Matt, is that I don't believe that the flash forwards and this narrative structure, I don't think it's put there to really try to trick anybody or really try to say, "Oh, I got you," or have your mind blown. It would be an extra thing if like you didn't get it, and I think it's an extra point of power and a point of emphasis if you didn't see it. But for me, again, I think it all comes down to, that Turner became Elwood. So now you're past, "Oh, I figured it out." You're in, we are learning in real time in the present and in the past, piece by piece, how they became one person, and why is it that these two kids,
why is he calling himself Elwood?
Yeah, why these two kids with conflicting personalities now basically become one person, even though they were two different people. And I really enjoyed, that's where the conflict came up of the Turner is still Turner, but he's also Elwood right now, and he has to carry both of them. And knowing that already, and knowing that from the jump, is another part of the puzzle that you're just like, this is the experience of these two guys becoming one person, not, let me say, "Oh my God, he died. We knew it was coming." What's the experience of it, and what's the experience of learning from a person? Learning from a person.
Honestly, that's fair.
I didn't enjoy the here's the thing. You can bring up it's going through the experience. It doesn't mean shit if you don't enjoy the experience. And I because of the first person, I didn't enjoy the experience. So I want to get off that for a minute, because I do want to acknowledge the acting, the supporting cast, the besides the fact that part of the reason I did not like the first person is the fact that these actors were looking directly in the camera sometimes. And that shit got annoying. It felt just fake. But I do want to acknowledge just some of the performers. I want to acknowledge Hamish Linklater, who is always fantastic in supporting roles. And I always laugh because like he is like the one player who's always got Jackie Robinson's back. When I see him in a role like this, it's like, damn.
Don't worry, he's Batman now, so
I know
he's got some. He's got some.
I know. Then you have Anjanae Ellis Taylor, who's always fantastic, especially
What's crazy to me is every time I see her in a movie and she like knocks out the part, I still have to go, "God, this was Sister Girl from Undercover Brother at one point." Right. Her roles are because of, like, that's like the one outlier. Like, you can do comedy, but you're like, she's so good at like these dramatic roles, and especially with this. I was like watching it. I'm like, man, I miss my mama. Like that type of shit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
she was incredible.
Yeah, and then you have Luke Tenney, who plays Griff, the kind of bully, but he's the boxer. And for those of you who don't know Luke Tenney, he's fantastic on Shrinking. So
yes, he is.
Go watch that. And then this is probably the only props this actor will get from me, even though I still think his acting in this was mid as all hell, but it's easily his best performance of the year. That's Fred Heckinger as Harper.
Okay.
I call him Fred Meckinger.
Have you seen Thelma?
No, I didn't see Thelma.
See Thelma, because that's the first time I got to saw him, and it's actually him in a role that suits him. So I actually like the guy.
I saw him in Gladiator 2. He was the worst part. I saw him in fucking Craven, and he was horrible. And I saw him in this.
He was in Craven?
He was bad in Craven.
I haven't seen Craven.
He's real bad at Craven.
He is Craven's brother. Aaron Taylor Johnson is good. So let's stop that. But
Debatable.
It's a
He's
bad
the least
script.
worst. He's the least worst.
It's a bad script. He did great with bad script. Anyways, but yeah, he's in Craven and he's garbage in that. So like this is the one performance. I was like, hey, you did solid in this. So like,
He plays the chameleon. Hackinger plays the chameleon.
Yes, he does.
Craven, by the way.
Craven's brother, the chameleon.
Also,
Okay,
I thought you were about to shit on my man fucking Jimmy Fails from Last Black Man in San Francisco. He's briefly in it as a teacher, and I was like, man, I wish you got more of him.
Yo, that was, oh my God. I was
looking at him like he looks familiar as shit. Yeah.
What?
You thought I was gonna shit on Jimmy Fails? Hell no.
I got scared.
No. One thing I'm gonna say about Fred Heckinger, I thought that Nicholas Hoult got paid for 50 million movies this year. Fred Heckinger is in fucking everything. I had no idea. You didn't see Thelma.
That's what I call him. Fred Meckinger.
But this man has been in a hell of a lot of movies this year, for real. And look, you saw him in Gladiator 2, and you got that really, really over the top performance that was, it was okay. I dealt with it because of who he was. I first experienced him in Thelma, so we got him from two different point of views. Craven is a wash. You can't blame anybody for whatever that crap was. You can't do that. But the fact that man has been in almost as many movies or more than Nicholas Hoult is kind of wild, because I thought it was Nicholas Hoult who just hit every single
he was
aspect.
Just in 4 he was in 4 movies this year. 4 movies.
Yeah, so just a hell of a lot of films.
Christ.
Hell of a lot of films. I would say I thought Ethan as Elwood was great, but Brandon Wilson as Turner was my favorite part of this film.
I would agree with you there. I was just trying to give some love to the supporting cast real quick because they're normally forgotten. So I just like, before we get into them, let's give these guys their flowers.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I enjoyed all of them. Are there any other supporting cast? Because I think it's a pretty small cast. I think
it's other than that, it's a lot of background
very small
actors.
Cast. Yeah.
So
but I give Brandon Wilson all the props in the world, because he's technically, like, you don't see him as the lead, but then he becomes the lead, and just the subtleties and the anger that you see behind his eyes the entirety of the film, and being able to transition that and make it feel like David is the same person just through the voices. I really appreciate it. I think they did a damn good job there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so with that, folks, thank you for checking out A Bigger Bite. Be sure to check out all the reviews and whatnot on Bitesize Breakdown, especially when it comes to Rue. And I think you're going to start seeing more Shaq on there. For me, you can just find me on my Twitter. I am a part-time Bitesize member, but you can find me on the Bigger Bite here, Twitter, and my channel, Watt Real Entertainment. So check those out. Wait, go ahead, Shaq.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
I was literally just letting him. Shut up.
Yo, hey, listen. Hey. You can find me on all social media at Shak Excellence, SHAK Excellence. That's Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Letterboxd, all that. You can find my writing over at cgmagonline.com for CG Magazine. I do film reviews over there. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, Shaq. And with that, folks, signing off, I am Matt, that is Amarú, and that is Shaq. And we'll see you next time on A Bigger Bite. Have a good one.
Peace.